y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Beth. Today we are going to do a recap of my reading for May, talk about what I'm already reading for June, and reveal our Grimm pick. I am still on a very slow reading pace, and that's just okay. That's just fine. I thought maybe I would do some reading when I took my week off. I didn't. I listened to some audiobooks at night, which is my typical wind down before I go to sleep, but I didn't pick up anything else. And I've been going through tomes. I have been reading Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy, and we're going to talk about it. First up is Royal Assassin. Royal Assassin is the second novel in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. We continue to follow the life of Fitz, a royal bastard conscripted into service and trained as an assassin. Fitz finds himself once again entangled in the dangerous web of political machinations. The fate of the six duchies teeters on a knife's edge, and his role in its salvation will demand a sacrifice. And because it's a middle book in a trilogy, that's about all I can tell you without spoiling everything. So, I did finish Royal Assassin. I did it in a hybrid with the book as well as the audiobook. And, you know, it has 650 pages, and the next one is even larger. I'm going to have to pull back and read some shorter things for June. But here is my page for Royal Assassin. I always put a little bit of metadata about the book here. Some of my favorite quotes here. I think this was my favorite. Thinking is not always comforting, it is always good, but not always comforting, and that very much sums up my brain. And then over here I put my thoughts. I think I rated Assassin's Apprentice, the first book, which I read a year and a half ago now, 5 stars. Brought this one down a little bit to a 4. Robin Hobb does move slow. It takes a while for some things to develop, and from what I understand, that's just par for the course. I'm okay with it though, because again, her character building is just extraordinary, and you start to care about the characters. I have some issues with some of the relationships. If you want to read this, you can. I'm not gonna spoil anything. But there it is. So there's Royal Assassin. And then I really thought I was going to finish Assassin's Quest, and I have like 100 pages or less. I'll probably finish it tonight. It'll be done. And so I'm going to count it in May. And I was so convinced I was going to finish it, I went ahead and set up a page and started keeping my quotes. But because I haven't finished it, I haven't put in any of my thoughts. Here's the book. It's 200 pages more than the last one. So they're just getting longer and longer. So this is Assassin's Quest. It's the thrilling conclusion to the Farseer trilogy. It sets the stage with high stakes. Characters are in peril. The kingdom teeters on the edge of destruction. And the only hope for the six duchies lies in the death of our antagonist, who is not dead yet. Like I said, I am back here almost done with this book, and we will see. But I am going to count it in my May reads. Essentially, this one is 800 pages. The other one was 650 pages, and these two books have dominated my May because they're huge. They're just huge. And I don't have a whole lot of time to read. I wish I could focus on audiobooks when I'm doing deep work. I can't. Even when I turn on Spotify, songs will go by and I'll have no idea what I listen to, because when I get into deep work, whether it is designing my son's bullet journal spreads and I'm deep in a state of artistic flow, or even if I'm deep buried in a spreadsheet at work, I like to have music on because it's in the background, but I don't remember what I'm listening to most of the time. And therefore I can't listen to an audiobook either because it blends away into my brain. I have to be listening to an audiobook where I can focus on what I'm listening to. So when I'm taking a walk, when I'm laying in bed just before I go to sleep, those sorts of situations where I can devote my full time to it. Because even if I'm like scrolling on my phone or something, it just goes in one ear and out the other. And then the third book that I was reading for the bullet journal community book club was Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. I did do this one in hardback only. In this digital age, we have access to endless knowledge. This constant influx of information often leaves us feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Building a Second Brain is a personal system for knowledge management. Unlock your full potential and transform your knowledge into meaningful improvements in your work life. Now, I have been a fan of Tiago's for quite some time on social media and on YouTube. I watch his videos. Because of that, This seemed very redundant to me. I don't know that I necessarily needed to read the book. Again, I'm glad I did because it's part of the bullet journal book club. But it could definitely be like 1 or 2 very long blog posts as opposed to a full-blown book. There's a lot of filler in it. Now, some of the filler I found fascinating, like this big long quote in the middle says, research from Microsoft shows that the average US employee spends 76 hours per year looking for misplaced notes, items, or files. And a report from the International Data Corporation found that 26% of a typical knowledge worker's day is spent looking for and consolidating information spread across a variety of systems. Those are staggering numbers. That's a lot of time wasted just trying to figure out where something was left. That statement alone backs up his entire thesis on why he did and wrote Building a Second Brain. But again, you can watch most of his YouTube videos and glean all of this information. And if you're a visual learner, that's probably the better way to do it than picking up and reading the book, although there are examples in here. I do wish that I had had this as a student. So one of the things Tiago has done in the past with the Peace Corps, he used to teach English. And he also taught his students how to properly take notes. And wow, that would have been a game changer when I was in high school or college. I think I still took great notes, but organizing those notes, especially even back then for me in an analog world, because it was definitely pre-digital back then. I mean, I had a computer in college, but it wasn't a laptop. And it was bulky and big and clunky. But yeah, it just would have made all the difference in the world. So if you have a student who really needs to learn how to properly manage their data, their note-taking, all of that in later high school and college years, I think this is a game changer, and I think that's who we should be targeting this book at. Not that adults can't glean some great things out of it, but just go watch the YouTube videos about his note-taking. That's all I have to say about that. And that's what I read. So there we go. I didn't have any book hauls for May. I was on a no-buy, and I stuck with that. Now, I have already ordered a book in June, but it is the next bullet journal book club pick, which I don't think I can reveal yet, so I'm not going to do that. We'll talk about it at the end of June, whenever that gets started. So we're ready to jump into setting up for June, and our Grimm fairy tale for May was good old Rumplestiltskin. Got some notes over here on the power of 3. There were several of you that joined us in the Storygraph read-along. I'm gonna try to set up a Storygraph read-along for this one as well. If I do, it'll be down in the description box below. I'm gonna do the wallpaper thing where I stick washi on this whole page. I'm gonna use this old Archer and Olive washi tape. It does have some gilding on it. Don't ask me when this was from. I'm sure somebody knows who keeps better track of those things than I do. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get some of this stuck on here. I just spent a really long time over analyzing this and realizing that there is no way to make this pattern line up in any kind of pretty way. There's no top to this dragonfly right here. So we're just gonna stick it in. It'll be fun. Most of it'll be covered up by our Grimm fairy tale graphic anyway. It's okay. I like to try to line it up when I can, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we're not gonna get mad about it. So Rumplestiltskin. I don't know, it'd been a long time since I read Rumplestiltskin, and yet it's one of the ones that is so very familiar that I pretty much remembered the story itself. Now look, that one does line up. No, can I make that happen? No. Let's move it away so it doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. Now, do I think I had read Rumplestiltskin post-university days? I don't think so. My education is in English literature. That is not the same as fairy tales, but I have taken a lot of classes on literary analysis. And one of the things that I'm discovering in this fairy tale read is that I'm super fascinated by the power of 3 because it comes up over and over and over again. And we have it again in Rumplestiltskin. It's just one of those numbers that is repeated throughout the story. So Again, she's put in a room to spin some hay or straw into gold. Our peasant girl, because her father has a big mouth and was trying to impress the king by telling him that his daughter could do this thing, the king wants her to prove it. I mean, why would he not want to? This is another one of those stories that men don't come out so well on top. It doesn't paint a pretty picture of the male species. So her father opens his big mouth to the king and says, my daughter can spin straw into gold. And of course she can't. But he puts her in this room in the castle for 3 different nights and tells her to spin straw into gold. And of course, enter Rumplestiltskin, who offers to do this thing for her, and she must give him some kind of gift. And then you've got 3 nights worth of spinning, and so we have 3 gifts. There's another 3 something that is associated with that. I can't remember right now. Hang on, let me look. Oh yeah, 3 rooms full of straw, 3 nights, 3 gifts to Rumplestiltskin. And as somebody put the story graph, read along, the 3rd gift, she offers up the firstborn child, because logically, it's what you is offer up your firstborn child. Now, there's a lot of that in fairy tales and ancient stories too, right? Always giving up a child. Never paints the parents in a pretty light, regardless of sex, when you start offering up your child in any way, shape, or form, like the miller or whoever did with his daughter, and then the daughter does with her first unborn child. I mean, she basically makes the same deal. You're abandoning your kid one way or the other. But the other thing that I take great note of, and it really has a lot to do with my upbringing overseas, is that indigenous groups and even ancient Greece, ancient Rome, names were important. Names were this avatar, basically, of your persona. Knowing somebody's true name is powerful. And this is another motif that pops up in literature over and over and over again, especially when we have characters that have multiple names. One name may be something a little more pastoral, and another one may be something a little more royal. A good example of this is Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Aragorn being the name that is considered royalty, and Strider being the name that is considered a little more pastoral. He's not known as this individual who could be a person of great power within the realm, sort of thing. But yeah, so what's in a name? And that's one of those things that I think comes up in fairy tales as well. And of course, it is Rumpelstiltskin's undoing. So those are the 2 things that I focused on, was the power of 3 and then what's in a name. We're gonna move on from one of the most popular of the Grimm fairy tales, Rumpelstiltskin, to a story that everyone might not know. And I have a printed photo again, and that's the reason that I chose this washi tape, is because of this little snake icon here. This was the only washi tape I had that had a snake on it, which is shocking with my Slytherin self. But here we go, and it is the white snake. In the white snake, a wise king receives a covered dish every evening. A young servant is intrigued, and one night when he retrieves the king's dish and discovers a coiled white snake under the cover, the servant takes a small bite and something special happens. So I'm gonna let you guys figure out what that is, but I'm gonna go ahead and paste this in. I had to order some more refills for my Tombow tape runner. I've been using regular glue or glue sticks for a while now. And part of the reason for that is these refills have gotten much pricier than they used to be. I realize that money is very subjective. 3 refills for this, like the refill pack, is now like 18 bucks. I don't know. It just seems excessive. There we go. So here we have our plate. We have our white snake. I've got some birds and animals in the background that's important to the story. It's been a hot minute since I read it. I read a lot of these at the beginning of the year or just before the beginning of the year, trying to decide what stories that I wanted to include. We are going to grab this blue to go with this blue, just because it's darker than this blue. I didn't want it to be the same. And I'm going to keep the same setup. Just put reading and the white snake. Put in some dots. I'm leaving more space in between than I have before, just in case I want to write something else in regarding what I'm reading. I think that's going to be my pace. I don't think we're ever going to outpace 5 books a month ever this year, just because I got a lot going on. We've recapped my May. We can flip back and look at certain things. I still haven't added anything to my 2025 release radar. These are book covers back in here, if anybody's ever wondering. Books that are on my TBR that I just haven't gotten to yet, but I keep hoping I'm going to get to them, so I already have a pre-printed book cover. And then here is my reading tracker for the year. And then on this side, we have 12 stories. Let me write the White Snake on here. I have added these books to my index, so there's Building a Second Brain. My index does fold out, so there's Royal Assassin. And yeah, my backlist is still my backlist. I'm still really bad about actually picking up books that are on my shelf. But right now, I have started Nettle and Bone. So, like I said, I needed to read some things that were shorter than the Farseer trilogy. Substantially shorter. I had started Nettle and Bone yesterday. So, I'm on my lunch break from work. And right now, I'm working from home today, and I'm on my lunch break from work trying to film this video. So I'm not reading it on my lunch break today. But my series tracker, I've gone ahead and filled in my 3 Farseers. Because these are so chunky, I just don't know if I'm going to get into the live ship traders soon. Just a PSA, a public service announcement. If you have Audible, Farseer and live ship traders have made it into the free catalog if you already have an Audible subscription. That's your public service announcement. If you've wanted to read Robin Hobb, maybe you're intimidated by the length and it'd be easier for you on an audiobook. These have made their way into that included with Audible section if you want to go and check them out, which is why I did these as a hybrid. Assassin's Apprentice, I just read the book because I had it, and these I've kind of done as a hybrid, which actually takes me longer because I'm listening to somebody else read, and I don't speed up my narrators ever at all, so it takes a little bit longer. Book haul. Oh, I've bought 2 books for June already. One of them I'm not going to reveal because, again, it's the Bullet Journal Book Club pick. But my next audiobook will be The Man Who Pays the Rent by Judi Dench, which I really wanted to get in a physical format. But I really do love memoirs on audio, and so I purchased it on Audible so that I've got it ready to go when I am ready to. I haven't changed anything on my release radar, mainly because I'm trying to not buy books. I did watch a lot of Grimm when I was off work for a week. It's one of those things that I started, but I don't know where I'm at. So next month I'll come in and I'll update this and we'll know where Beth is. I need to catch up to here. I'm probably here-ish, and this is probably how much I need to catch up to get on track. But if you put on my tracker, I put weeks 47 to 52 catch up, so that if you're off track from the weeks in which season and episode you should be watching, you got all the time in the world to finish that. Not putting anything on my faves yet, too early in the year, and that gets us to recommendations. I still really want to read The Will of the Many. It's lingered there long enough that it's something that I do want to pick up. I'm going to try to do that. Book of the month, I have paused. I've paused for 3 months. I might pause for another 3. I've gone ahead and put in here that I have paused book of the month. And that gets us to where we are, and I can stick my little... Did I stick May on there? I have these all messed up. I have to change my tabs. We are ready to go for June. I'll fix my tabs before next month as well. Let me know in the comments below, what are you reading? Tell me about it. Come join us over on Storygraph for a read-along, as long as I can find The White Snake. It might be one of those odd out ones that it's difficult for me to set up a read-along for. And if I'm not able to do that, we'll chat about it on YouTube, just down in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.